A tragic accident has killed a window washer and injured one other at Methodist Hospital in St. Louis Park. Authorities were called to the hospital last Thursday afternoon about 3 p.m. Upon arrival, found one man dead and another seriously injured. Welcome to Park Update, the weekly program that gives you the latest news about what's happening throughout St. Louis Park. I'm Scott Smith. Officials have identified the deceased individual as 24-year-old Brian Prairie of Plymouth. Authorities believe the two individuals were 3 stories up on a 40-foot-high building when they fell from their scaffolding. Both men worked for a private subcontractor and were hired by Methodist to wash the hospital windows. Officials from St. Louis Park and the county are currently investigating. St. Louis Park-based MoneyGram International has announced that Executive Chairwoman Pamela Patsley will assume the role of Chief Executive Officer. The company, best known for their money transfer services, says that Patsley will assume the role immediately from Tony Ryan, who was CEO for about 8 months. Patsley has served as executive chair since January, and before joining MoneyGram, spent 7 years at First Data Corporation. Park Nicollet Health Services has been named to Hospitals and Health Networks magazine's 7th annual list of 100 most wired hospitals and health systems. The list is based on responses to the Most Wired survey and benchmarking studies. According to the magazine, facilities named to this list have a lower mortality rate than other facilities. Park Nicollet Health Services, located off Highway 100 and Excelsior Boulevard, is the City of St. Louis Park's largest employer. The West End development continues to progress. A new sculpture is officially on display outside the Rainbow Grocery Store. The piece was designed by artist Forrest Wiley, a popular Minnesota artist who has been commissioned to design similar works throughout the state. The Rainbow Grocery Store is now open for business, and other stores will be opening in the coming months. Stay tuned to Park Update and visit the city's website for information on West End new store openings. That's a look at the latest St. Louis Park news. Stay with us as Jamie Zwilling brings us the update on City Council.
If you're a resident of Ward 4, don't forget about the City Council primary to be held Tuesday, September 15th. The 2 top vote earners in the primary will advance to the November general election for the open Ward 4 seat. The candidates appearing on the primary ballot are Thomas Peterson, Julia Ross, and Bill Theobald. The League of Women Voters recently held a forum for the candidates that is now playing on Civic TV 17 or available on demand at www.stlouispark.org. A reminder that the primary is only for voters of Ward 4. To find out what ward you live in and your polling location, visit the city website and click on My Neighborhood. I'm Jamie Zwilling, and that's your City Council update for this week.
Near the turn of the century, there was a dairy in St. Louis Park that had no cows. Think about it a minute, or just watch this week's History Minute. The Engel dairy business took root sometime during the early 1880s on a dairy farm near Cedar Lake in Minneapolis. The business was established by Lars and Elsie Engel. Around the turn of the century, the business was moved to the St. Louis Park location, which is now 4900 Excelsior Boulevard. The Rice Sand and Gravel Company, later the Beltline Pay Dump, was just next door. The processing, packaging, and delivery of dairy products has evolved over the years. Early on, the dairies delivered milk to customers door-to-door in bulk form using the customer's own containers. Glass containers came in sometime in the teens. Home delivery of dairy products began to phase out with the sale of gallon and half-gallon glass bottles of milk at milk stations. This began in the late 30s or early 40s. People obviously liked the idea, and the practice spread to the grocery stores. The Engel Dairy had no cows on the premises. Raw milk was purchased daily 7 days a week from local farmers. It was tested for butterfat content and paid for on that basis, then pasteurized, quick-chilled, bottled, cased, and transferred to a cooler and held for distribution. Ancillary products such as cream, butter, buttermilk, cottage cheese, and the like were purchased on a private label basis from the Delano Dairy. The site is now Bally's Total Fitness, built back in 1983. I did kind of mislead you, as dairy farms do have cows, dairies, not so much. The milk is trucked in tankers. Now, here's Les Farrell with news in the neighborhood.
In school news, mixed results for Park schools. 4 of St. Louis Park's 7 public schools have failed to make adequate yearly progress under the federal No Child Left Behind law. The district failed to meet state targets for the 4th consecutive year at the junior high school, Aquila Primary Center, Cedar Manor Intermediate Center, and Susan Lindgren Intermediate Center. The No Child Left Behind program mandates that all schools make progress toward meeting state proficiency results on exams in reading and math by 2014. However, AYP results released last month did include a couple of bright spots. St. Louis Park Senior High and Peter Hobart Primary Center both made sufficient progress from last year. Officials believe this is no call for alarm and feel that significant improvements were made throughout the district. City Parks and Recreation staff worked with STEP on a fundraiser the last day the pool was open, August 26th. The successful cooperative event raised a total of 435 pounds of food and over $200 in cash donations. One woman stopped in and donated a check in the amount of $50, saying, "STEP helped my mother. Thank you to all who contributed." A waffle dinner and craft bake sale will be held on September 25th to benefit the St. Louis Park Senior Program. The benefit will be held at Lenox Community Center from 4:30 to 7 p.m. and will feature all-you-can-eat waffles made from scratch, with a variety of syrup, sausage, and beverages. A craft and bake sale will also be held in conjunction with the dinner. Be sure to come out and support a good cause and have some great food in the process. Reminder from Waste Management and the City of St. Louis Park. As many know, the emerald ash borer has officially arrived in Minnesota. The Minnesota Department of Agriculture has placed a quarantine on disposal of ash tree debris outside of Hennepin or Ramsey County. In order to comply with this quarantine, Waste Management is not able to collect materials that resemble ash with regular yard waste. The wood debris will be tagged and collected by a separate truck the next day, with the exception of Friday, which will be collected on Monday. For more information about emerald ash borer and the quarantine, contact the Minnesota Department of Agriculture at 651-201-6684 or at this website. That's your news in the neighborhood.
Thank you for watching Park Update this week. We can now be seen daily on cable channels 14, 15, 16, 17, and 96, as well as on YouTube. For Les Farrell and Jamie Zwilling, I'm Scott Smith. We'll be back again next week.